Have you ever dreamed of starting your own podcast? Well, you can. It's simple, it's easy, and best of all, it's free. By going to anchor.fm, you can start your own podcast today and have your own show up and ready to go. Anchor's graphic user interface is user-friendly, and you get paid for your content by setting up a Stripe account. Go to anchor.fm. Again, that's anchor.fm, and start your podcast today. Welcome to the Living Healthy Podcast, where you can improve your quality of life by making solid and informed decisions. I'm your host, Eddie Randall. Thank God for another year. It's 2022. This is the premiere of Season 2 of the Living Healthy Podcast. As always, I have another exceptional episode packed with knowledge and insight on living healthy. Tonight's podcast is entitled The Science of Sleep, exploring how important sleep is to the body and cognition. Sleep is undoubtedly the single most important thing that can deliver optimal health. If you live to the average life expectancy, then you will have spent at least 30 years of your life sleeping. That equates to 10,950 days and 262,800 hours. Sleep is simple, efficient, and is easy. However, it's often overlooked and goes unappreciated because of its simplicity. We don't realize that we take proper sleep for granted until we reach a stressful or overwhelming time in our lives. Proper sleep involves getting at least 8 hours of good quality rest. Sleep recharges our batteries and is important for mental as well as physical health. Proper sleep helps the brain to reorganize and strengthen neural pathways, further enhancing knowledge and making it easier to remember things. This in turn enhances learning and understanding. There's an article by Lee, Ma, Yang, and Gang called REM Sleep Selectively Prunes and Maintains New Synapses in Development and Learning. They wrote that REM eliminates spines and in turn aids in new spines forming. In addition, they state that REM sleep strengthens new spines, enhancing production and cognition. The spines they're referring to are the dendrite spines from a neuron. These spines help to transmit signals to neurons in the brain. The main components of a neuron consist of a nucleus, cell body, and dendrites. The neuron is simply a nerve cell whose sole purpose is to relay information. The nucleus is the heart of the neuron and contains the nucleolus where ribosomes are made. The cell body is simply the body, and the dendrites are simply the extensions of the nerve cells. When we learn new things, neurons make more connections. These connections are the dendrites, and the dendrites communicate with other neurons using chemical signals and electrical signals. When we learn, our brain organizes and strengthens neural connections. The dendrites grow and expand, sort of like branches or roots of a tree. The contact points between dendrites are called synapses. As I stated, when you learn, dendrites grow and expand. Some are thicker and bigger than others, as this happens with facilitation of a new skill or language. This is why good sleep is so important, because as stated, the brain trims and reorganizes these dendrites. This explains why we are at greater risk to make a mistake and not to retain as much when we are dead tired. Sleep also improves cellular functions such as the immune response. It's no secret that we want to sleep when we're not feeling well. Our bodies are wired that way in order to give us time to heal, repair, and recover. The U.S. Library of Medicine has an article called Sleep and Immune Function. It's by Besedovsky, Lang, and Bourne. They state that studies show that sleep promotes immunity by bolstering the interaction between foreign antigens marked for destruction and cytokines. Conditions that affect sleep. Cardiovascular health is affected by sleep, and having a healthy heart goes without saying, but unfortunately, unless we have a heart problem, we really don't give the heart that much thought other than the obvious. When we sleep, our blood pressure is lowered and the heart is at rest and under less stress and strain. Sleep is ever more important for the heart, as the heart is the only muscle that does not get any rest. You can stop lifting weights, you can stop jogging, running, playing sports, or working hard in your yard. The obvious appendages get rest, but not the heart. The best rest for your heart is good, solid, uninterrupted sleep for at least 8 hours. The CDC states that 75 million Americans have high blood pressure, and a major contributor of this is a lack of sleep or insufficient sleep. And that sleep means that blood pressure stays higher longer. They further state that heart disease, stroke, and heart attack are correlated with adults who sleep less than 7 hours a night. The National Institute of Health has an article called How Disrupted Sleep May Lead to Heart Disease. This article covers research involving mice by Dr. Swirsky and Harvard Medical School. Dr. Swirsky's team had a control group and an experimental group of mice, and they repeatedly interrupted the sleep of the mice while allowing the control group to sleep uninterrupted. After 4 months, they determined that the experimental group developed larger arterial plaque in their arteries than mice that were allowed to sleep. Both groups of mice had the same diet and participated in the same activities. So this study proves that an abnormal sleep pattern contributes to atherosclerosis. So not only do we have to eat healthier by consuming less salt and fat, but you must also get adequate sleep in order to take care of your heart. Now take into account other factors such as stress, obesity, sleep apnea, and a diet high in fat and salt. The heart works so hard and may seem underappreciated when you put it in perspective. We must do what we can to improve heart health, and sleep is the simplest, and yet it can be the most difficult thing to do. Physical health is also a factor that can be affected by sleep. For children, sleep is vital in that it regulates puberty, tissue, and muscle growth, and for adults, fertility can be affected by sleep. There are so many people that suffer from fertility issues at one time or another. Getting adequate sleep should be part of the treatment plan recommended by your doctor. Essentially, sleep aids in hormonal regulation, and a wide variety of hormones are influenced by the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is the internal 24-hour clock that our bodies run on. Our bodies have systems such as our metabolism and sleep-wake cycles that run on the circadian rhythm. The 24-hour clock is influenced by factors such as stress, diet, light, and illness, to name a few. As examples, thyroid hormones are influenced by the circadian rhythm, and melatonin, which is produced from serotonin, is also very important in sleep regulation, and it is vital to the circadian rhythm. On hormone.org, they state that sunlight stops the pineal gland from producing melatonin, and as it gets darker, melatonin levels increase. So I can't stress enough that this hormone is vital in getting adequate sleep. Factors such as stress, caffeine, working a night shift, light, and more specifically blue light can reduce melatonin. There are some studies that say to put away your phone at night, as the blue light reduces melatonin. Other studies show that red light can increase melatonin levels. In juxtaposition, hormones like cortisol, which is a stress hormone, increase with stress and can also increase when taking certain medications like prednisone. Sleep also plays a significant role in blood glucose levels. In the early hours of the morning, blood glucose surges in preparation to wake you up and to give you energy for the day. This is called the dawn phenomenon, and is a normal thing that occurs. Initially, the dawn phenomenon was thought to be a pancreatic disorder, but studies among diabetic and non-diabetic patients showed that it occurred regardless of the person being diabetic. This is leading doctors to believe that this is proliferation of glucose early in the morning in a response to the body's need for glucose for energy, which is natural and normal. The dawn phenomenon can be a huge problem for people who are diabetic, as their fasting blood glucose levels can become elevated as the body does not produce enough insulin on its own to process the sugar. There's an article on dietdoctor.com by Dr. Brett Scher called Aiming to Understand the Dawn Effect. He states that A1C levels and overall health can be drastically affected, as the dawn effect can hamper a diabetic's ability to help control blood glucose levels. Inadequate sleep can also increase oxidative stress. Oxidative stress contributes to aging, tissue damage, inflammation, and diseases like cancer. Oxidation is a normal process in the body, but too much oxidation can lead to oxidative stress. This is why health experts and other medical professionals, including myself, always prompting people to eat vegetables and fruits that are high in antioxidant properties. Sleep deprivation, or an unorthodox sleep cycle, and even poor sleeping habits can cause insulin resistance. Elevated blood glucose levels can affect sleep and cause insulin resistance. The endocrine system releases hormones at certain times, and at night, sleep helps to regulate the endocrine system. Stress and inflammation can also impact sleep, reducing insulin sensitivity. Also, too much blood glucose causes you to use the restroom more at night, as your kidneys are doing what they can to reduce blood sugar levels. In addition, elevated blood glucose levels can lead to diabetic neuropathy, which is the pins and needles feeling that you get when your foot or leg falls asleep. In diabetics, neuropathy is nerve damage, which can result in this feeling at any given time. It can lead to and contribute to restless leg syndrome, which in turn can dramatically affect sleep habits. Restless leg syndrome is the involuntary movement of one or both legs. It can also be the feeling of burning, itching, twitching, or feeling like something is crawling on you. This condition is often associated with leg pain. Aside from diabetes, there are factors that can cause restless leg syndrome, such as iron deficiency, kidney disease, and nerve damage. Regardless of the cause, it is a condition that can disrupt your sleep cycle, which can lead to other health issues. Insomnia is the inability to get to sleep or having difficulty remaining asleep. About 50 million people suffer from insomnia. This can be a life-altering and tumultuous condition to have. Insomnia can cause fatigue, irritability, depression, memory problems, anxiety, stress, and even diabetes. As mentioned earlier, an unusual sleep cycle can lead to diabetes and insomnia. Insomnia causes insulin resistance, and if it goes unchecked, it can result in diabetes and obesity. Decreased sleep can affect glucose metabolism, namely the hormones leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is made in the small intestines, and it regulates appetite and how many calories are burned. When you fast, leptin levels are low, and when you eat, leptin levels are high. Ghrelin is another hormone. This hormone increases food intake and is regulated by food intake. So when you fast, levels are high, and when you eat, levels are low. There was a study involving over 1,000 people, and the article was written by Taheri, Lynn, Austin, and others, called Short Sleep Duration and is associated with reduced leptin, elevated ghrelin, and increased body mass index. They stated the study revealed that the participants who all had sleep disorders also had reduced leptin and elevated ghrelin, which resulted in eating more, leading to an increase in BMI. Night terrors is another condition that can affect sleep. It can be caused by insomnia, stress, a traumatic event, and a fever, to name a few. This condition can happen in children and adults. Patients may experience loud screaming and thrashing, and it's best described as a feeling of drowning, falling, or having your worst fear happen to you while you are helpless to stop it. Obstructive sleep apnea is a very serious condition that can drastically affect the quality of life, and if severe and left untreated, it could result in death. This occurs when the throat muscles, tongue, soft palate, etc. relax while sleeping. Then they end up blocking the airway. A common symptom of this condition is snoring. If you lie alone and wake up often with a dry mouth, or wake up with a sore throat or coughing, there could be a chance that sleep apnea is to blame. The Mayo Clinic states that narrowing of the airway can build up carbon dioxide in your body, and that your brain will wake you up to take a deep breath, and you may not remember it. They go on to state that this can happen up to 30 times per hour, resulting in disrupted sleep, leaving you sleepy during the day. As I mentioned earlier, the undisturbed deep sleep is necessary for the body to repair itself and to regulate processes properly. Sleep apnea can result in high blood pressure and heart problems. Fortunately, there are things that can help, like a CPAP machine, and even the Inspire device that needs to be surgically implanted. However, the number one cause of sleep apnea is being overweight or obese. In thinner adults, the primary cause of sleep apnea is likely linked to genetics. On the American Journal of Epidemiology, there's an article by Punjabi, Shahar, Redline, and others called Sleep Disorder Breathing, Glucose Intolerance, and Insulin Resistance, the Sleep Heart Health Study. They conducted a study involving over 2,500 participants who suffered from sleep apnea. They checked their fasting blood glucose levels and levels 2 hours after consuming food, which is the 2-hour glucose tolerance test. They determined that there is a significant risk of people who have sleep apnea to develop insulin resistance, resulting in type 2 diabetes. Good, solid, restful sleep affects behavior and mental health. Obviously, if you're not well rested, then you can be more prone to stress, become easily irritated, and you can even develop anxiety. On harvard.edu, they state that sleep and behavior are inversely related and that bad sleep patterns can result in anxiety and depression. In other cases, you can even suffer from anxiety while you're trying to sleep. Whatever the specific cause that lead to poor sleep habits, mental health is associated with problem sleeping. There is an article on the British Medical Journal website by Scott, Webb, and Rouse called "Does Improving Sleep Lead to Better Mental Health? A Protocol for a Meta-Analytic Review of Randomized Controlled Trials." They examine studies regarding sleep problems and mental health. Ultimately, they determined that sleep plays a significant role in the onset and progression of mental disorders. I also wanted to address somnambulism, better known as sleepwalking, partly because this happened to me once when I was a child. You literally get up out of bed and go walking around and/or perform routine tasks. This is extremely dangerous, especially if it happens to an adult that attempts to cook, shave, or drive. I've read where some people have got dressed for work and attempted to make breakfast only to be awakened by a family member and realize what they were doing. Sleepwalking is part of a class of sleeping disorders called parasomnias. Sleepwalking is commonly genetic, so it tends to run in the family, and I can say firsthand you do not remember doing it, and you just wake up and find yourself doing something when the last thing you remember was going to bed. On sleepfoundation.org, there's an article by Eric Sooney where he states that people who sleepwalk do not recall doing so, and that it is genetic. As he states, 47% of children who sleepwalk have one parent that has done it, and 61% of children who sleepwalk have both parents who have done it. He goes on to state that if you suffer from obstructive sleep apnea and/or restless leg syndrome, then you are at an increased risk to also become a sleepwalker. Learning while you sleep. This is an interesting concept. As your brain is still working, as mentioned earlier, it recognizes and stores information, all while creating new pathways for newly learned information. For years, many people were circulating information stating that you can learn while you sleep. It was a common concept that, for instance, you could put on headphones and listen to a foreign language. As an example, I will say Russian, and you'd be able to obtain the information and make learning easier. From what I've learned, listening to language while you sleep can reinforce what you've learned. This is because the human brain loves to remember things. Namely, it loves to identify and classify. So that being said, in terms of learning a new language, if you've not taken the time to study, enunciate, pronounce, and use what you're trying to learn, it'd be hard-pressed for the brain to facilitate learning while you sleep. That's like listening to someone talk about how they solve a calculus problem. There are shortcuts, rules, and concepts that you have to use to solve calculus problems. First, you need to look at them, then study it by continuously solving calculus problems in order for your brain to learn. On brainfacts.org, there's an article by Kat Sukal called Can You Learn While You Sleep? She interviewed Dr. Scott Carney, who conducted studies that showed that memory activation happens when you sleep. But in order for you to remember and strengthen the new skill, you first have to learn it. Carney goes on to state that a study by the University of Bern in Switzerland showed that you can learn some completely new information while you're sleeping, particularly during the deepest phase of sleep when dreaming occurs, although it is not absolute. In so many words, you can use apps and audio recordings to learn while you sleep in conjunction with things that you've learned in order to attempt to bolster your understanding and level of knowledge. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for supporting the podcast. The Living Healthy podcast is listed on many platforms, including Anchor, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Bullhorn, and many others. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. And don't forget to check out the Living Healthy podcast channel on YouTube. Also, if you have any questions or would like me to discuss a particular topic, or you'd like to be a guest on the show, please contact me at livinghealthy@gmail.com. Types of brain waves. When groups of neurons communicate with each other, they send electrical pulses. These mass electrical pulses are what are known as brain waves. They are divided into a range of frequencies combined into a bandwidth. They are measured in hertz, which are cycles per second, and they coincide with how we are feeling. Rest or relaxing thoughts and emotions coincide with low-frequency brainwaves. In juxtaposition, fight or flight and or anger or higher emotion will coincide with high-frequency brainwaves. Brainwave frequencies are delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma waves. Delta waves are the lowest brain waves and range from 0.1 to 3.5 Hz. Delta waves are prominent in stages 3 and 4 of sleep and tune out the outside world and our conscious awareness. As an example, you'd be less prone to hear a noise when delta waves are dominant during the 3rd and 4th sleep cycle. Theta waves range from 3.5 to 7.5 Hz. These brain waves are prominent in between sleep and being awake, more or less the subconscious mind. These brain waves are stimulated by prayer, meditation, creativity, and are associated with memory, emotions, and sensations. Alpha waves range from 8.0 to 12.0 Hz and represent a relaxed state and are responsible for mental health. Increased alpha waves have been associated with a decrease in depression. These waves are dominant when you are first waking up in the morning, getting ready to start your day. They're also dominant when you are relaxing and winding down. Beta waves are 13 to 38 Hz and occur when a person has their eyes open and is actively engaging in some type of activity. These brainwaves primarily occur when a person is thinking, learning, studying, or taking in information from the environment around them. These brainwaves can range from low, medium, and high. Low beta waves happen when you're relaxed and paying attention to something. For example, reading, studying, or listening to a podcast. Medium beta waves occur when you're driving and paying attention to the road. High beta waves happen when you're alert and actively doing something like jogging, running while playing football, or running back and forth playing with your dog in the yard. Beta waves essentially occur during a state of alertness. Gamma waves occur between 39 to 44 Hz, and they're the highest frequency brain waves, and they are associated with memory, learning, and simultaneously processing different functions. These brain waves are very important for learning and social norms. If a person's brain naturally puts out higher amounts of gamma waves, this essentially accounts for a higher IQ. These brain waves can also account for a higher attention span and the ability to analyze and solve problems quickly. In relation to sleep, sleep breaks down into several stages that coincide to specific brain waves. Sleep stages. Sleep has several stages and is not a uniform process. You don't simply lay down, go to sleep, and wake up later. Your brain waves coincide with the stage of sleep that you're in. There are two phases of sleep, non-REM and REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement, and non-REM means non-rapid eye movement. REM occurs when the eyes move around quickly under the eyelids, and the stages when non-REM occur are distinguished by the particular brainwave. Stage 1 non-REM contain low-frequency alpha and theta waves, and during this stage, the brain resembles activity of being relaxed and awake. Your eyes move slowly behind your eyelids, and your breathing and heart rate slow down. Theta waves increase during stage 1, and you can easily awaken. If you hear a noise or your wife turns over in bed, there's a good chance that you will awaken during this stage. During stage 2, non-REM sleep, you will have no eye movement and your body temperature begins to drop. Theta waves are prominent, and this stage is classified as a deep state of relaxation. Stage 3 non-REM and stage 4 non-REM are combined. During these stages, cells, tissue, and your immune system begin repair work on your body. Delta waves are prominent at this time, and your eyes will not move in this stage. Your heart rate and breathing are at their lowest, but can vary. If there is noise or your wife turns over during this stage, you'll not easily awaken, as this is a state of deep sleep. During this stage is primarily where sleepwalking and night terrors take place. Stage 5 REM contains bursts of rapid eye movement, and your brain activity will increase, as this is the stage where you will primarily dream. The brain also exhibits activity of you being awake. These sleep cycles usually repeat every 90 minutes or so, and you'll go through approximately 5 to 6 cycles in an 8 to 9 hour span of sleep. How does light affect sleep? When you close your eyes, you can still see light, albeit not as profoundly when your eyes are open. The brain responds to this light. Therefore, light also affects your sleep and your circadian rhythm. On sleepfoundation.org, Eric Sooney wrote an article called Light and Sleep. He states that too much light at night can affect transitioning between sleep cycles as well as interrupt them. Aside from that, the duration of natural sunlight that you're exposed to during the day makes you sleepier at night, which can lead to better sleep. On the U.S. National Library of Medicine's website, there's an article called Effects of Light on Human Circadian Rhythms, Sleep and Mood. It was written by Bloom, Garbaza, and Spitzshan. They state that exposure to light during the day affects the duration of sleep and sleep quality. Essentially, the best sleep is one that involves a very dark room and a comfortable bed. I advise room darkening curtains as they can block out outside light and help deliver the most comforting and relaxing sleep you can get. I also advise against a night light. However, if your child is scared of the boogeyman, then a night light may be the best way to give him or her peace of mind while they sleep. Sleep and age. As we age, we tend to sleep less at night and are more prone to taking naps during the day. Our circadian rhythm naturally changes as we age. There are also hormonal changes in relation to age that change during sleep. With women, these changes can start at menopause and gradually change every year. The same goes for men after the age of 40, as our testosterone level begins to decline. The National Library of Medicine has an article by Lee, Vitiello, and Gunartam called Sleep in Normal Aging. They state that sleeping at night can become shortened at night and an increase in naps often occurs as we age. They go on to say that the amount of hormones secreted as we sleep diminishes as we get older. All in all, when we get older, our hormonal changes can affect how we sleep. As an example, melatonin is a hormone that is made in the pineal gland in the brain. Melatonin helps us to sleep as it plays a huge role in the sleep cycle. This is one of those hormones that naturally decreases as we get older, and in turn, it can alter the sleep cycle. Changes in the body that can affect sleep can lead to neurodegenerative disorders as we age. Protein synthesis and the correct folding of proteins is vital to functions of the body. This regulation is called proteostasis. Even though the body can conduct apoptosis and destroy cancer cells and genetic abnormalities, it is not a perfect system and some abnormalities get through. This also holds true for protein synthesis in the body. Incorrect folding of proteins can lead to neurodegenerative diseases. There is an article on the Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience website by Hafs and Nadu. The article is called Sleep, Aging and Cellular Health, Age-Related Changes in Sleep and Protein Homeostasis Converge in Neurodegenerative Diseases. What they did was look at several studies involving protein disruption, disrupted sleep, and age. They state that abnormal protein regulation can cause dysfunction in older rodents and that sleep deprivation can lead to an increase of proteins. They further state that the needs for sleep change as we age, and other studies have shown that protein regulation declines. They also mention studies that have shown that sleep deprivation early on in life can lead to memory and cognition issues later on. Ways to get better sleep. There are numerous ways to get better sleep. Exercise is a great idea. Exercise is ideal and can help to get you in line for a better restful night's sleep. Being tired and worn out can be beneficial in getting you in line for a good night's sleep. Not only will exercise improve your overall health, cardiovascular system, and aid in weight loss, it can help you to sleep and recover, giving your body just what it needs. Soothing sounds can help you to relax and help get you to sleep. There are videos and MP3s online that you can listen to, like rain, white noise from a fan, a fireplace, and even snow falling. The reason why these sounds are naturally soothing and relaxing is because our brains are fine-tuned from the moment we are in the womb. Our mother's heartbeat is what we hear continuously in the womb. It relaxes us, and along with our mother's voice, it helps to stimulate the brain and also helps us to develop our hearing and language perception. As adults, soothing sounds relax us and puts us in a very calm state. These sounds can stimulate the brain waves that we already create. Think of it this way. Using an antibiotic to heal a cut that we have. Our immune system is already at work trying to help heal, but the antibiotic will encourage the overall desired effect. Back in 1839, German physicist Heinrich Wilhelm Dove discovered what is termed binaural beats. You will see this term used with the videos and MP3s I mentioned earlier regarding relaxation. What he found out was that playing two frequencies close to each other, which have to be less than 1,000 Hz and more than 30 Hz, was that the brain tries to sync them and reacts to them. You're essentially hearing something that is not there. Let me clarify. Some people may not know this, but what you hear is actually played back to the brain, so the brain can respond to it. It happens very fast and involves the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. God created that process for us, and the study of the ear is an amazing process, which I think I will save for another podcast. Back to the binaural beats, which are usually in the description of the videos and MP3s mentioned. Say you're hearing 300 hertz in the right ear and 305 hertz in the left ear. Your brain tries to sync them, so your brain interprets and reacts with something that you don't actually hear. Your brain interprets 5 hertz, but you're not hearing the 5 hertz. You're hearing 305 and 300. The 5 hertz falls within the range of theta waves, and theta waves, as I mentioned earlier, involve REM sleep and deep relaxation. On PubMed.gov, there's a pilot study conducted by Alban, Kleinhert, Struder, and Schneider called Brainwave Entertainment for Better Sleep and Post-Sleep State of Young Elite Soccer Players, a pilot study. What they did was conduct an experiment with 15 soccer players in their prime and expose them to binaural beats for 8 weeks. The beats frequency were between 2 and 8 hertz. They state that the participants were given a sleep diary and documented that after 8 weeks of sleep, that quality of sleep drastically improved. I don't think I could cover relaxing sounds and sleep without discussing ASMR. ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Many may be privy to what ASMR is, but for those who are not, it involves the listening, usually with headphones on, to sounds that are binaural or all around you. Usually these sounds are close to your ears and can involve a plethora of sounds that will stimulate a tingling sensation. This usually involves very expensive high-end microphones and any object that you can be used to create a soothing sound. Visually, ASMR involves slow, close movements of the hands. The tingling sensation feels good and relaxes the individual listening to the ASMR MP3 or watching the ASMR video. On brainfacts.org, there's an article by Melissa Mayer called Testing the Tingles, the Science Behind ASMR. She states that psychologist Craig Richards, who is a professor at Shenandoah University, conducted a study involving 10 individuals who underwent an MRI while watching ASMR videos. The results illustrated that when tingles were felt, the areas of the brain lit up that involved reward and emotional arousal. The emotional arousal puts you at ease, and the reward center of the brain is stimulated. Think of it this way. Say you have a hard day at work and you have a few minutes to yourself where the house is quiet. Then you open a piece of that expensive dark chocolate that you love and take a bite. You close your eyes and savor the velvety richness and sweetness. That is how some feel when they listen to ASMR. The sensation felt can travel down the neck, and in some people they can even feel it in their spine and limbs. On sleepassociation.org, the American Sleep Association website, they state that in some people, ASMR makes them feel sleepy, calm, and relieves anxiety. In addition, they say that the calm feelings felt are due to the chemicals released by the brain, such as endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. This happens when the brain is stimulated by ASMR. In conclusion, they state that it has been known to help aid in sleep and relaxation. So, if you're having issues relaxing or sleeping, you can check out YouTube for ASMR videos or just search online for ASMR MP3s and see if ASMR works for you. I can state firsthand that I enjoy ASMR and it does help you to relax. My personal preference, I love listening to rainstorms. It's very, very soothing. Foods we eat also play a huge role in sleep. It's always advisable to avoid eating food before bedtime. In addition, the meal you have a few hours before bedtime should be lean. A lean meat such as chicken, turkey, and fish are ideal. Avoid any fatty and sugary foods or drinks that'll keep you up. ClevelandClinic.org states that foods high in fats can reduce serotonin levels. As I mentioned just a moment ago, serotonin is released by the brain in relation to ASMR tingles. However, we normally produce serotonin as it relaxes us and is important in the evening hours, especially as we get ready for sleep. A good thing to have is perhaps warm milk or tea. I prefer ginger tea, lemon tea, cranberry tea, blueberry tea, and strawberry tea, to name a few. Not only will the warmth comfort you, but there are properties in the various fruits that relax the body. Praying is also another way to relax the mind and body and relieve stress. It'll lower respiration and heart rate and place your mind in a calming state. The same can be said for meditation. Keeping lights low is also another great way to relax. In this day and age, most lighting is LED and 5,000 Kelvin lighting technology, which is great for driving and security lights outside your home. However, lights with a dimmer switch or even low voltage halogen lights are ideal as you wind down for the evening. As I had described earlier when talking about lights and sleep and how it affects sleep, it would be extremely helpful to dim the lights in the room where you are about an hour or so before sleeping. In addition, having room darkening curtains and no lights would be the ideal situation to prepare to indulge in calm, peaceful, and restful sleep. Reading a good book is another way to wind down in preparation for good sleep. Reading helps you to relax and to calm down. It puts your mind in another place and focuses on the matter at hand. It relieves stress and slows respiration as well as the heartbeat. One of my personal favorites is listening to music. You can listen to your favorite classical or opera music to elegantly induce a calming mood. If you're not into classics, some jazz music can have a similar effect. It just all depends on what you're into. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening to the Living Healthy Podcast, Episode 1, Season 2. I want to thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you next time. And remember, living healthy creates a better you.